Nigeria is a culturally diverse, beautiful country located in West Africa. According to Ryan Hurst on blackpast.org, Nigeria, which gained independence from Britain in 1960, had at that time a population of 60 million people, consisting of more than 300 different ethnic and cultural groups. Although the area contained many different groups, the three predominant groups were the Christian Igbo, located in the southeast, the Muslim Hausa Fulani, which was located in the northern part of the territory, and the half-Muslim, half-Christian Yoruba, located in the western part. In the southwest, the Yoruba political system also had a series of monarchs called Obas. Their system was less autocratic than the north, and their system allowed those who acquired new wealth to move up in status, rather than only allow those born into old money and titles. According to the article Civil War in Nigeria on the History Channel website, the Igbo in the southeast had over 600 self-organized villages. Each of the villages had elected hereditary monarchs, but they did not have much power. They were more like group leaders who the people would turn to for advice. The villages even had a general assembly where any individual could take part in making decisions for the village. Each of these groups had their own cultural and religious values, and before Nigeria gained independence from Britain, the British would rule using the emirs, thus further emphasizing an authoritarian political system. Those who lived in the north did not have exposure to Christian missionaries, and the literacy rate there was around 2% compared to 19.2% in the east. According to New World Encyclopedia, as part of the system, Christian missionaries were excluded from the north, and the area thus remained virtually closed to Western education and influence, in contrast to the Igbo, the richest of whom sent their sons to British universities. The West had an extremely high literacy level, since they had access to more Western educational opportunities. In class, we discussed the idea of wealth, and the fact that people who are wealthier and have a higher status in any given economy have more privilege when it comes to education and employment opportunities. And many of the wealthy are not even held accountable for many of their actions. Even in the South, the missionaries spread the Western forms of education to the Yoruba, who became the first African doctors, lawyers, technicians, and servants. In the Igbo region, since the British had trouble controlling the various Igbo villages, missionaries came to their region the latest compared to other groups. When the missionaries did come, many of the Igbo converted to Christianity, and they became the most educated, wealthiest, and politically unified groups in Nigeria, presenting a serious challenge to the Yoruba predominance in the civil service and the professions. Many of the Igbo had to go to other parts of Nigeria to work due to population pressure. However, there was so much difference in the cultural and the religion of the people. In 1965, oil was found in the Niger River Delta where the Igbo reside. Finding the oil was a turning point in Nigeria, as that led to the struggle for control amongst the regions. Tension grew, and it became worse and worse. This reminds us of the battle between the settlers and Native American Indians for their most valuable source, land. In History and Sociology of Genocide, Frank Chalk and Kurt Johansen write, more often, politicians at the state, local, and national level adopted policies that subordinated the preservation of Indians' lives to the relentless demands for more land advanced by white farmers and cattlemen. Looking at the Nigerian genocide, in 1966, Northern officers staged a counter-coup to take revenge on the Easterners for the targeting of their own political leaders in the first coup. This led to Lieutenant Colonel Yakuba Gowon emerging as the head of state. The next year, a military coup caused the Igbo officers to take over the Nigerian government. The General Aguiyi Ironsi took power as president. The Igbo people said although the oil was in their region, they only profited a little bit due to discrimination. The other groups felt outraged, and the Muslims in the north revolted and massacred Christians from Igbo from the north, causing the Christians to flee south. This created an immense amount of economic and ethnic troubles. This idea and acts of killing can be linked back to the film Schindler's List, when the Nazis were massacring innocent people based on religion, race, or mental standing. Months after the Igbo general took power as president, a northerner-led counter-coup resulted in his death. Colonel Murtalu Muhammad led this coup. Fearing marginalization within the state, on May 30, 1967, an Igbo colonel declared that the Igbo region was to break away from Nigeria and become its own state, Biafra. Very few governments worldwide recognized Biafra, but some of the ones who did provided them with military aid. The Muslims and the Yoruba refused to accept Biafra's independence, and they went there to attack, thus beginning the Nigerian genocide. The genocide occurred from July 6, 1967 to January 13, 1970. According to combatgenocide.org, after attacking Biafra 3 times and falling, the Nigerian government declared a land and sea blockade on Biafra to starve the people. On May 19, 1968, the city port Harcourt, the most important port in Biafra, fell to Nigerian forces. The blockade caused an incredible amount of famine to spread. The Nigerian government bombed the lands they used to grow crops, and Biafra soon had little military. A stalemate developed between the Nigerians and the Biafrans, and as a result, on December 23, 1969, the Nigerian federal military government launched a police action to take back the territory. The 3rd Marine Commando Division split Biafra in two, and then the cities Legally and Owerri fell apart. Owerri fell completely on January 9th, and Uli fell on January 11th. The Biafran forces finally surrendered in the last town alive called Amici on January 13, 1970. 3 days before this, the Biafran leader, Ojukwu, went into exile to the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire, with the rest of his federal army staying to sign for surrender. And in this upcoming video, we see the fight for land between the Biafran and the Nigerian forces. According to the NewWorldEncyclopedia.org's website article on the Nigerian Civil War, this was one of the first post-World War II tragedies that the media took into living rooms across the globe. Despite Doctors Without Borders stepping in, and some global media presence, at the end of the 30-month-long war, over 2 million Igbo died. This was seen as the first black-on-black genocide in post-colonial Africa. Most of the people who died were the elderly, women, and children, and they died predominantly from disease and hunger, not even from fighting. According to Phil Baum, director of the Commission on International Affairs of Congress, he stated, "For more than a year, a little noticed the savage and tragic war that's been going on between the federal government of Nigeria and the Republic of Biafra. After the war, the Nigerian federal military government developed several policies directed at the Igbo. The government changed the currency and took all of the Biafran money, giving them only 20 Nigerian pounds in exchange for their currency. Even after the genocide, the Igbo continued to suffer, as the government left them with no wealth or ability to expand their business interests. This type of government control compares to the Rwandan genocide during the time." In Chapter 7, Madeline Haran writes, "Previous instances of Tutsi cleansing campaigns in 1958, 1963, 1973, and the 1990s. The exile of the Tutsi to Uganda or Tanzania, the post-genocide exodus of Hutu killers to Zaire and the Congo, and further massacres post-1994. The government also gave their cities to the various other tribes. Even today, many Nigerians discriminate against the Igbo, as the Igbo find it hard to get employed or even find housing." According to the Pambazuka News, even the chief genocide area, Kuba Gawan, now runs a religious program called Genocide Praise, helping the poor murderers in the genocide to come clean and get rid of their sins through prayer. He writes, "He that comes to equity must come with clean hands. Whoever must come to God in prayers and supplication must come with a humble heart, acknowledge and change from his wicked ways, and make atonement by restitution." In class, we discussed the importance of religion among many different cultural groups. These religious beliefs play strong roles in the way many of these massacres and killings play out. This same thought process reminds us of Father Kennedy in 100 Days, who remarked, "God will forgive our sins as long as we confess, repent, and seek forgiveness." People have written a tremendous amount of literature in the Nigeria-Biafran War. Unfortunately, the majority of generals and officials in the war who won created those accounts, so there's little information from the Biafran perspective. As we discussed in class, it is typically the victors who write history. As noted by Paul R. Bartrup, who wrote about the Native Americans genocide, overall, we are looking at a horrific case of mass human destruction, in which millions of people lost their lives, and the destruction did not stop once most of the people had died or been killed. Regardless of the genocide, destruction did not stop once the genocide ended. Even though there is a prominent amount of evidence saying the genocide was strictly planned as a project of exterminating the Igbo ethnic group, the genocide has been mischaracterized as a civil war. It is termed an invisible genocide, since Nigeria and other countries hid the truth. Hiding the truth and not broadcasting much of the genocide reminds us of Hotel Rwanda. In Film and Genocide, Madeleine Heroin wrote, "Another powerful sequence is that of killing in the Kigali streets, as filmed by Nick Hughes in 1994. In the course of an afternoon, for more than 22 minutes, this sequence was broadcast for less than 10 seconds in newscasts." Instability could especially arise again because many of the dishonest Nigerians deny that the Nigerian genocide even happened. According to writer Osita Emblem, writer for PimBazookaNews.org, the deniers of the genocide may deny it as much as they like, but their denial will not erase it happened. The aspect of denial reminds us of Ararat, a film focusing on the Armenian genocide. Still today, many of the Turkish people deny it ever happened. In Chapter 4 of Film and Genocide, Georgina Banata writes, Adam Egoyan's film Ararat is the first to address the Armenian genocide in great detail. She quotes Egoyan, who states, "I think we have to be able to find a way to stop talking about this as a film of the Armenian genocide. It's a film about living with the effects of the denial of that event into the present. Regardless of the genocide, those who suffered will always remember, and the guilty shall pay."